Well, hello everybody. It's Bug Eater 64 here, and we're going to be doing a couple real quick test flights in the CH47-D from X-Trident. I've been looking forward to trying this bird, and I was going to do a flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 with the latest update 6, but having horrendous issues trying to download it and get it up running. So we're going to be doing that. But first, let's go ahead and do this flight just to test it, because it's an aircraft I've added to my fleet that I'm going to be using FS Airlines to. So anyway, let's get to it. Let's get in the cockpit, and let's take a quick look at these two test flights. See you inside. Okay, here we are. We're starting up the APU here, and we are going to get busy and get this bird in the air. Now, on this first test flight, X-plane, when I picked the spot to sit the helicopter, it sat me underneath a jet. So, but I went ahead and flew it anyway. So, with that, let's get this girl moving and in the air. And I used a quick down and dirty checklist, which I'll show you the process when we do the second flight. But right here, we're at San Francisco International Airport, and we're going to get ready to go ahead and get this aircraft in the air and just see how it feels. Now, one of the things I found out in this flight is I had not built in any curves, performance curves, in my HOTAS for this aircraft, for this first flight. So here we go. We're getting her started. She's a big, heavy helicopter, and on the cyclic and so on, she really feels like it. It's like handling the difference between an 18-wheel truck and a Ford Mustang 500 horsepower. I mean, there is a huge difference. And when I'm flying a Huey or a K-50 and I can throw them around in the sky in different places, even the Bell 412, the civilian, I can really crank it, move it around quickly in the air. Not so much with this big bird, and X-Trident, I think, has done a very nice job getting that feel in the flying of this helicopter. So we're just going to do a quick flight around some of the local area of San Francisco and see how things go, and see if I can get this aircraft on the ground safely. This is the very first time I started up the helicopter and tried to fly it. So all in all, I think it went pretty well, but they really have a lot of things built into it already, a lot of switches and systems, but they're going to be doing some further updates. This is still a work in progress, in my eyes anyway, and I think it's just going to be a great, fun helicopter to fly. So here we are around, got off safely. She's flying around nicely. She's not hard to handle. But in this flight, she was very sensitive to collective input. So that gave me some trouble a little bit. Coming in for a landing here. Back from where, not from where we started from. We're going to land at the helo parking area by the Coast Guard building. That way I don't have to worry about landing on top of other aircraft. And there's two of my ground crew waiting for us. This is where it got a little bit tricky, trying to work the collective. The rudder controls and so on. So I think the next flight we'll have to definitely build in some curves and see if that helps. It's not pretty, but we got her on the ground. All right, so that's the end of flight number 1. Here is test flight number 2, early morning, from San Francisco International to Mariposa. Now, Mariposa is a great place up in the hills where they do a lot of parachuting and air ballooning. So we're just going to fly out there. There's a little airport. You can see the air crew walking back. They're going to get on board. And once we get them on board, normally I would have them stand outside and actually watch the startup. But we'll go ahead, get them on board, and we'll go ahead then and get rid of our tie down, remove all our before flight equipment. And we will get prepared, close that door, and we'll close the ramp. Sometimes it fights me a little bit. So anyway, let's go ahead and do this. And we'll get ready to get in the cockpit, and we'll go through our down and dirty startup checklist. So in the cockpit, up here and turn on our battery. And then we'll get the APU up and running. Put it to start and then hold it down to start it up. And look here. Everything looks the way it's supposed to. So let's turn on our... You don't have to do this now. I just go ahead and get my lights operating, anti-collision and so on. Then we're going to turn on, we start with the left engine first. So we turn on forward and aft fuel, our cross feed, and our FADEC. Like I said, this is the down. Now we move the throttle down to the ground position. And okay, everything looks good. And we're going to go ahead and start engine 1. So we're looking for 10% NIT, and then once it gets to about 10, it's going to kick the engine on, and everything should be running for engine number 1. So that's good. Yep, rotors are starting to turn, and these are counter-rotating main rotors, and so that helps eliminate a lot of the torque we get in other aircraft, other helicopters. So with that, let's go ahead and get ready to start number 2. Again, that one looks like it's stabilized. All right, and forward and aft fuel. Throttle to ground. Starter switch on. Up our gauges, and there it goes. So both engines are running properly. And with that, let's go ahead and turn all these on. And now we shall get ready. Turn the generators on, and we can turn the APU off. And let's put these down to fly power. And we'll watch them, the power gauges settle. And we can shut our warning light covers. And this will be our nav system, generic nav system. You can always also use the GTX 750. So you'll see that panel. But I've got to learn how to use this one because using the GTX 750, I don't believe it is VR capable in the helicopter, so I wouldn't be able to see it if I was flying in VR, which these two flights were not. But future flights will be. Okay, so the only warning light we have right now is the parking light showing that the parking brake is on. So everything in the gauges is looking good, just as it's supposed to. The X-plane map, and our heading is gonna be somewhere between 095 and 105. So with that, we can go ahead and everything's looking good there. Put our heading bug down to about 95. And we'll set our course. Okay. And let's set this to local time for California. He was showing the local time for where I'm at in upstate South Carolina. All right, 29902. Okay, so you see she's got a lot of little systems. And we're parked on a hill, and that always makes takeoffs interesting. Okay, so it looks like everybody's seated and ready to go. Let's do some housekeeping. Took this parking brake off, and because of the angle, we're rolling forward. So I think we should probably just go ahead and add some collective. And a collective is, even with the curves built in, it's real sensitive. So it's going to take some practice to really fine tune, takeoff and landing for this helicopter. But it's a beautiful morning for flying in the Bay Area. Climbing at about 1,000 feet a minute, which this helicopter is very happy to do. Now the airfield we're heading to, Mariposa, is got an elevation of about 2,200 feet. So, in this area, even though there's mountains and everything, Central California, we're going to fly just about 3,000 feet, which we've done here, and you can see the GTX 750 with our flight path. Okay, getting very close. So we'll start to slow down and lose some altitude and approach the airport. And there's the airport, but we're not going to get there because I have been rudely interrupted by VRS. Oopsie. Okay, boys, anybody bring the hot dogs and marshmallows? Yeah, I wasn't aware that, again, these are my first two ever flights. First one went fairly well. This one, I was slowing down and getting ready to approach, and by golly, found ring state VRS. Not the best way to end the flight. Alrighty, wasn't that exciting? Two very uncharacteristic squirrely flights in a helicopter for the old Bug Eater 64. Things didn't go well. Found out one thing though when coming into Mariposa field there, that VRS is a real thing in the CH47 from X-Trident. I got into a VRS situation, as you could see, and was unable to get out of it. She's a big, heavy helicopter, heavy lift helicopter for the U.S. military, and she feels like it on the controls too, which I really like. She doesn't feel like the KA-50 or the Huey, which you can kind of just throw around the sky pretty much wherever you want to. But this old girl, because she's heavy lifting and her configuration with the counter-rotating main rotors, I got to tell you, she feels like a big 18-wheel truck, and that's the way it should be. She flies well, she's very stable, but if you don't pay attention, and I didn't, it was all pilot error, and that's why we ended up with that nice little crash. You know, death from above wasn't meant to be a rock falling out of the sky, and that's basically what I did. So with that, that's our little test flights. Oh, and while we were editing this video, I was able to get Microsoft Flight Simulator uploaded and running. But for me, the only way I was able to do it was to open the Xbox app, download it from Xbox, because there was no update available at the Microsoft Store as I was told. But if I went through the forums, spent a few hours looking at what other people had problems with, and now I have to run Microsoft Flight Simulator through the Xbox app. So Microsoft just continues to, as we say in the business, piss me the hell off. But you got to do what you got to do, and Microsoft has always been a bit of a finicky thing to deal with. So anyway, we'll get back into it and get my FS Airlines going with that again. Right now, I've got the DC-6 stranded in Vancouver, Canada, because it's only available on the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So we'll get that back, and we'll finally get it to San Francisco and be doing some flights out of my home base there. Until then, we're going to do FS Airlines flight with the CH47 and make a little bit of money that way. So, hope you enjoyed the flight. I had fun bringing it to you. And as always, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm not afraid to show it because I'm not a real world pilot, even though I've spent hundreds of hours in some of these aircraft over my military career. But I sure have fun with it, and I hope you do too. So, with that, this is Bug Eater 64, and until next time, as always, remember, do as I say, not as I do, and safe flying.